do you think that Sicily is teaching people to live and US is teaching people to achieve?
Ooh. Yes, I think that's a beautiful way to put it. I've never had a single person approach me with, what do you do for work? What has your background been professionally? It's more like, what are your lived experiences? Who are you? I am not going to portray Sicily as this wonderful La Dolce Vita, because that has never been my experience here. It's the make-believe vacation Pinterest version. That's a glimpse into a place that functions like any other in this world. Day to day.
Daniele, thank you so much for accepting the invitation.
Well, thank you for having me.
Today, premiere in the Whereabouts Tales podcast. Finally, someone from Italy accepted my invitation. Italia is here! Italia!
Finalmente!
Finalmente, eccolo qua.
Secondo me maggiore persone, io adoro Italia in generale, ma Sicilia specifico.
Sicilia is special. So even though, look, I think the waiting was worth it, because I'm pretty sure that we'll make really the best out of it. Again, thank you so much for the invitation. Today we have Daniele. Daniele moved from an amazing country to another amazing country. It is like this. It's just my opinion. I am stick to it, even though we are living crazy times. But we all hope it's temporary, right? We all hope
I
will go.
Your optimism from one great country to the next great country.
This is how it is.
That story too. Yeah, absolutely.
This is how it is. So Daniele moved from the United States to Italy to make a new living there. But before we go and deep into the movement story and so on, I would like to know, Daniele, where originally from the US are you?
So it's really depressing, because when you see that I'm now here in Sicily, in a beautiful Mediterranean island, living my Dolce Vita here in Italy, I come from the very humble beginnings of Buffalo, New York. And if you don't know Buffalo, New York, it is basically Canada. I like to say it's Canada's ghetto cousin, terrible, cold, industrial city. I never liked it. I always knew I wanted out. I didn't know where. Europe somewhere was the goal, was the dream. Little Danielle growing up, she never dreamed of, one day I want to marry a man and have kids. The dream was always, I am getting out of America. I am going and seeing the world. I'm going to go live somewhere else. So that's kind of where my origins began.
But so first of all, I have to say this is so funny. Now I get to know the US, and I got to understand that New York City is not the same as the New York State, which is amazing.
Goodness. I was 8 hours away from the city.
Yeah, exactly.
8 hours in a car just to get to the city. It's basically another state at that point.
Exactly. So this is the first thing. Second thing, was it always moving out of the US, or was it only leaving my hometown?
Well, New York specifically, I never had a desire to stick there long term. So I finished up schooling there. I went to high school there, obviously. I got my degree in baking and pastry arts, which comes into play as to why I love Italy and Sicily specifically so much, because for me, sweets are life. Sweets are the key to my heart and my soul and who I am as a person. So I got my degree to be a pastry chef. And then the story kind of takes a wild turn, because I wanted out of New York. So I said, I'm going to apply, now that I have my degree, I'm going to apply to probably 50 different jobs all across the United States and in Europe. I applied to places in Paris. I applied to places in Amsterdam. I said, let's see who hires me first. And the first place to get back to me was Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida. They responded to me within 12 hours of my application saying, we want you here. Can you come as soon as possible? move your things. So I packed my car, I drove it to Florida, and that's how I originally got out of New York. And so in Florida is where I met my now husband, who's from Sicily. And that's how I got to this chapter. So, like a little kind of domino effect. I always think like everything happens for a reason, and one phase of my life played into the next phase of my life.
I have to say now again, I have to emphasize what I said before. So not only from an amazing country to another amazing country to the most beautiful state of the US. I'm sorry if I offend someone to a different country. I love Florida. I love Orlando. I visited in
Now,
2024.
I might have choice words to say about New York and Buffalo in particular, but Orlando, Florida, oh, it treated me so well for the decade I lived there. I
That
absolutely loved it. It was, I mean, this is where tourists come, right? And honestly, if you think about it, I moved from one really touristic place to another really touristic place. So the goal is to always go and move where people like want to go on vacation. That way I always feel like I'm on vacation.
exactly. I think that's the secret, right? This is
I
what
have it figured
everybody.
out.
10 years in Florida.
Yeah.
What was the hardest part of living in Florida?
Ooh. And it's not a drag on Florida itself. I would say this is more of just America in general and kind of the customs and the cultural norms there. But I was working for Walt Disney World as a pastry chef, and I didn't blink an eye at working 50, 60-hour weeks, overtime every day, never saying no to extra hours. I was extremely overworked, and I actually didn't know how overworked I was until I would save up all of my vacation for the whole year so that I could use it all, like, for a few weeks in the summer where we could go to Europe and, like, relax and unwind. And when you taste that slower pace of life, you think, "I'm really stretching myself thin here in this job." And it was beautiful in a way because, on days off in Florida, you get to go to the theme parks and you get to play tourist and but Orlando itself feels very much like a secluded bubble, a world away from the world. I always say it attracts a lot of international people, it attracts a lot of people from all over the country, all over the world, but you're kind of in your own little bubble. You're not really living real life there because it's very much like glitz and glamour and amusement parks. And so kind of the real world came and hit me in the face when I finally moved away from that. But it was nice to be in that bubble for the time that I was.
But I have to say, this is something which is I have had some my share of guests from the States, and I have to say this is the single most common things that I heard from everyone, like this overworking.
Yes, the
This is
burnout culture.
exactly the burnout culture,
Absolutely.
like grinding, and this is something which I note. I think I've never seen in Europe in my driving in Europe. I've never seen so many people eating in the car as I've seen in the
Oh, is it not
States.
so depressing?
Absolutely,
And it's almost like it's
absolutely.
almost a brainwash of your value and your worth is completely dependent on how tired, burnt out, without energy you are at the end of your week from the sacrifice that you do in your job. And it
Exactly.
was a huge wake up call for me when we started traveling to Europe and coming every summer to Sicily to visit my husband's family that maybe this isn't really the lifestyle I want for me long term. Can I see myself retiring here, growing old here, and doing this and having to work for my health care and hopefully for, that my medications are covered. And that's a whole nother chapter, a whole nother layer on top of all of those things that you think about.
That's a different level for sure, and I think it's sad because it's such a beautiful country, Daniel. It's
Yeah.
such an amazing place to be, and I have to say, sorry that it's really. I think it was I keep saying the same, even though I get a lot of hate, but I keep saying it's the only country which wasn't any kind of authoritarian leader. They had any kind of authoritarian leader until now in its
Until
history. It
now.
didn't have
So I mean, we've had it good. And the phrase the American dream, it's there for a reason.
correct,
It's the truth. You can
correct,
come from anywhere in the world and go and make yourself a life there. I mean,
correct.
I was born and raised in America, but I had every opportunity at my fingertips. Like I said, I applied to how many different jobs and I just picked up my life and I went because America provides those opportunities for you.
Exactly. Exactly. Crazy. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. I love that. Um, but you moved to Orlando to go a bit to the story because we go easy on rabbit holes. We both like to talk and I love it. I love it.
It's like, wait,
um,
what are we talking? Oh, wait. Oh, Sicily. That's right. Not
I
Orlando.
have my notes here, but it doesn't matter. I will just try to stick to them. So you moved to Orlando. You started working for Disneyland. By the way, pastry, Disney World. Oh,
And now I live here in the pastry capital of, I think, the
exactly.
world. I mean, listen, France, yes, it's up there too. There's always that debate of the French and the Italian. Oh, it's so good. I'm so spoiled here.
I
It's
have to say,
dangerous how good it
I
is.
I have to say, I was in Sicily in 2018, I think. No, 2019. And the biggest shock that I had, I think, is the only place where you can get a sweet bun filled with ice cream, right?
The brioche.
The
That's our
brioche. The
brioche.
brioche. I mean,
So it's hilarious to me as an American what I consider an ice cream sandwich. And then
uh,
I move here and they're like, oh, no, no.
no,
Forget
nope.
everything that you know about ice cream sandwiches.
Yeah.
We take a big bomba of a brioche, delicious, soft like a cloud, and cut that bad boy open and stuff it with gelato.
And
Only in
from
Sicily.
whomever thinks, oh, bread with ice cream. No, no,
Bread
no.
and
You
ice
have
cream.
no idea. Zero idea. You have to try it.
To
It's
me
just
as an American, I thought there's no way I'm going to
no.
like that. Too
Nope.
heavy.
I thought
That's
the same.
carbs. That's gelato. And
Absolutely.
when you put it together, something magical happens.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. So you moved to Orlando, worked pastry, worked in Disney World. I think one of the most amazing places that I visited was Disney World. So I think the happiness and the enjoyment that you see in
I
there,
loved it.
the
It
good
was, for
feeling.
me, a dream come true. As cheesy and as cliche as it sounds to say about Disney World of all places, I was really lucky and really blessed. I was actually in a private resort, really quick before we go too deep in the rabbit hole, but it was a private resort called Golden Oak, and it's the only place in the world that you can live on Disney property. So houses started at like $2 million. It was like a private restaurant just for these restaurants where I had complete creative freedom to make whatever I wanted in terms of desserts. So I made and attempted some of the craziest things in my career during that time. I mean, I was very, very spoiled. So, and now I'm in Sicily, so I have no complaints.
So for whomever doesn't know and wants to grasp the size of it, Disney World in Orlando, surface wise, is bigger than Manhattan.
Absolutely.
Just for anyone
Giant.
that doesn't have any idea, it's something that
It's its
so
own it's
it,
its own thing.
it's
It's
his
its own city. It's its own
no city. No, there are smaller cities.
organism. It
I know, I know a lot of smaller cities. Okay, that's Disney World is an amazing place. I would guess you live somewhere close to and you get to meet your husband. Can I ask you, was he also working in Disney World, or there was just extra?
So this is some behind the scenes Disney World lore, okay? This is not heard of publicly. This is not talked about. This is very like hush hush
Breaking news.
cast member secret that, the public doesn't know. If you are going to Disney World as a guest, you don't know that this happens behind closed doors when the parks close. But here's the scoop. In the park of Epcot, you have all of the different countries, right? Which is one of the best parks, in my humble
It's the
opinion.
best.
As
It's the best.
it's the right. Can we just say it's the best?
Yeah,
It's the
it's
best. Oh,
it's the best combination of
it
entertainment park
really
for grown-ups. You
it's for
cannot have better.
adults. It's
Absolutely.
bravo,
Absolutely.
bravo.
It's sorry.
Senza parole, no more words. That's it. Okay,
That's it.
fair enough. So all of the countries have representatives that they
Mhm.
fly in from the countries themselves on what's called an international program. Disney gives them a visa to come and work for them for the year, and they put them in housing, they give them the job. So my husband got a job working for the country of Italy in Epcot. But what you don't know is all of our countries, because my first job before I was in the private resort, I actually worked for the country of Canada, which is funny. It plays into the roots of where I came from in Buffalo, New York. So serendipitous, of course. And so I was making desserts in that restaurant as my first location in Disney World. So I was going out with the Canada pavilion. He was going out with the Italy pavilion. All the countries meet in a local bar in Orlando, and we do drinking games, country versus country, guys versus girls. So this is what goes on, the debauchery that happens behind closed doors after hours, after we're done making magic for the kids. And I
This is so
happened to meet him
funny.
at one of these international parties. And you know, the rest is history.
Oh, so
You weren't. I know you weren't prepared for that. I know
I
I
have
just
so
dropped
many
a bomb.
questions.
I
And
know
by
I
the
just
way,
dropped a bomb.
Disney, if you think about doing that for Romania, look, I'm the best Romanian that can do that. There is no one
We
better.
really need to represent you guys, honestly, in Epcot. What are they thinking? And we have the space, we have the room to make the country. I'll petition for it. You got my
Please.
vote.
Thank you.
You got my
Thank
vote.
you. Much appreciated. You know, I think we could speak for some hours about Disney World because I was
Just
so
about
impressed.
this, I know.
Just
But anyway, you did ask how I met him, and
yeah.
that was how I met him. So, long story short, we were both working for Epcot at the time,
Mhm.
and we
So
met at an international Epcot party after work hours.
first of all, I envy your husband a lot for having the possibility to do that, to represent his own country in Epcot.
And he loved it. Can I just say he absolutely cherished that experience.
You just have to be yourself. You don't have to do anything special.
Oh
I
my
mean,
gosh,
it
are you
cannot be.
kidding? Yes. That's
It cannot be exactly. How long? How long was he there? For how long?
Oh my gosh, he had been there a while. So what can happen with Disney is if they like you enough, they'll actually renew your contract.
Oh my
And they'll
God!
also
Okay.
renew your visa for you, which is
Hmm.
it's a fantastic opportunity for people all over the world to come and have work and not have to deal with that complicated paperwork. So he had been in Orlando, I want to say between maybe 8 and 10 years at that point. He had done a few programs. And then we were together for a few more years there in Orlando before we made the move to Sicily.
Okay, and take me to the process. So you became a family. I do guess you got married in the U.S. already.
We did, yes.
Okay,
So
it
we
became
officially got married there, the paperwork, everything. But we had kind of the big party here in Sicily, though, which was
certo,
fantastic.
come
I
on.
felt like, listen, I felt like Beyonce or something. The way they do weddings here is unreal. First of all,
This is so nice.
I don't mean to sound pompous, but we got married in a castle. Who can say that? A castle. And it's very casual here. It's not even that big of a deal. And like a sushi buffet and like a hibachi chef and fireworks. And it was,
And look,
it was
I don't want to be. I told you already. I love the US, but I don't want to be mean. But I just want to say it could be that the castle was even older than US.
assolutamente sì. In my opinion, yes. Most likely, yes.
So
And to them, they don't even bet. They're like, yeah, it's a castle and it overlooks a beautiful marina. and the water is there and it's sparkling turquoise and there's this just old facade with vines growing. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
So, yeah, officially, we got married in the United States and then did, like, the party with friends and family and the big to-do here in
hmm
Sicily.
Okay, so you got married in the States, you did a party in Italy. I guess that in the first years you went a lot back and forth because you were visiting family in Italy, then
Every
going back.
single summer. So and that was fantastic. So we would, like I said, kind of work to the bone all year long, save up and kind of cluster all the vacation for, like, maybe 3 weeks over here.
And then there was most probably a discussion. There was a moment when the discussion between you and your husband, you said, okay, what are we doing now?
So, this is the funniest part to me because we were together a whopping 8 years, and for 8 years, I tried to convince this man to move back to Italy with me. 8
Wow.
years it took to convince him because he you remind me a lot of him and vice versa because he loves the United States, and he totally sees it for the great country that it is. He totally believes in that American dream. Disney brought him there and he made this great life for himself and he had a great salary, which is unheard of here in Sicily. Okay. That's not, you
Like,
know,
Daniele, you have to imagine we've seen everything in every movie that we've seen in our life.
there
Every
you go.
house, every
Yes.
school bus that you have
Yes.
there, every
Yes.
car, we know all your streets, and we only
He
dream
always
of
references
this.
this too. Like, you don't understand what we
You
see
don't
in the films growing up.
exactly,
It's just,
exactly,
and then he accomplished that, right?
exactly. And then
And
it's
so for him, he couldn't give that up. He didn't want to give that up. And, I didn't wanna take that away from him either, but at the same time, like I said in the very beginning of this conversation, ever since I was a little girl, it was just blinders on, full steam ahead that I was gonna get to Europe one way or another.
you convinced him, which was the hard
The
process, as I
American
understood.
convinced the
Exactly.
Sicilian.
Which makes a lot of sense, I told you, from a
She
lot
could
of perspectives.
Yes, yes.
But then I have to ask you, okay, how did the discussion with your family went? Because first of all, you moved uh, 12 to, I don't know, 24 hours away from home. You
Yep.
needed about 24 hours away of driving from Buffalo,
Oh,
New York
more.
to
It took
more,
me,
even
I
more.
think, 2 or 3 days to
Exactly.
drive from Buffalo to Orlando.
To
Oh my
Orlando,
gosh.
exactly. And then you told them, you know what? Florida was nice, but
But I'm
ciao,
going
ciao.
to I'm gonna be honest, it was not a shock to my family at all because I've always been this obsessed, this passionate about travel in general, but wanting to see the world, moving elsewhere. And to be honest, because we had been coming here almost a decade doing vacations every single summer, a decade of summers here. I actually felt a deeper and more profound connection with his family here in Sicily than I ever did my own, as shocking and controversial as that sounds. And I really think it's because I myself am just a very vivacious, loving, I give you everything I've got kind of person. And I think American culture can kind of be a little on the cold side in regards to that. So I fit in with that very Sicilian, passionate, we love you from the get go, you're one of us. They have this phrase in dialect. It's called sangue mio, which means blood of my blood, which you just reserve for people who are just, they're part of you. Your blood is their blood and vice versa. And that's the kind of connection I had with his family from the jump. And so I felt completely loved, supported, accepted, and just so drawn to the culture here in general that I knew that it would be a right fit for us if we did make the move.
This is extremely interesting because in generally, as experience in the US. I visited US a few times. I was there for also a longer time due to work. And also private. We did a road trip on the East Coast. So I've
Oh, lovely. Oh,
I
that's
had
great. Great
I,
way
ha-
to see it.
I've experienced a lot of US because I love it, as I said. Um, but I never experienced. So I always experienced everyone being so extrovert. I had the feeling that everyone is your best friend in the first 25 minutes.
And usually, I mean, look at me. I'm a great example of it. Um,
Exactly.
and my family is not, unfortunately. I don't know if it's because Buffalo is near Canada and it's cold outside, so they're cold on the inside as well. However you want to chalk it up to, but um,
Look, look. I keep saying this. I keep saying this that the mood of the people is connected a lot with the weather or the weather condition that they live
I
outside.
really think
They
you're onto
live in.
something there.
Yeah.
Truly, truly,
Because it could be that they are connected, but this is so interesting. So basically, you coming to Sicily, you kind of felt like home. It's not like it
absolutely.
Sicily changed you in any
I was
kind of
pulled
way.
to it from the get go. And even our first summer spent there, we returned back to America after that summer. And I was so depressed to be. And Orlando is a beautiful place. Like to go back to Orlando and to feel sad, really something went off in my head of, I think that lifestyle is calling me. I think I feel
Mm-hmm.
more connected to those values, that
Mm-hmm.
culture, that way of life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and a huge push to try to get my husband to go over there is kind of where our story takes a really sad turn because my father-in-law, his father, got terminally ill. So the factor that pushed him to get us there was to go and take care of him the last few months that he was alive. So it was a very bittersweet start to our journey. And this man, like I told you, I had this deep connection with his family, but this man in particular, his dad, he walked me down the aisle. He took me in as a daughter as soon as he met me. And
It's
we
so
weren't even
nice.
speaking the same language back then because back then I wasn't speaking Italian. I do now, thankfully, but even with the language barriers, just how soulfully he was willing to love and accept me as family was just such a beautiful thing.
I think this is really nice. First of all, I'm sorry to hear that. I think that's yeah, like you said, a bittersweet moment. But
Yeah, but it
at the
got us
end,
here at the
it,
end of the day. And was it how I would have loved to have started our journey here? No. Did it kind of maybe taint the experience a little bit? Yes. But, we're 3 years here. We lost him now 2 years ago. So the first year we were
Mhm.
here.
Which is really
And,
nice on the other side.
right, exactly. So I think it's hard to move internationally no matter what, right? You're gonna come in face to face with so many different challenges. Um,
Absolutely.
so it was gonna be hard regardless.
Talking about challenges, usually I ask everyone how was the move, how was the first night, how was the first day. But since you traveled so much in Sicily at the beginning, I want to ask you how were your first meetings with the Italian culture. So, like, what do you remember from your first trip to Sicily?
So we came here, what summer? Summer of, I wanna say maybe 2018, probably around the time you were here. I just made that connection. We were probably here exploring for the first. That's great. No, it was 2018 now that I'm marinating on it. Oh, wow, that's crazy. And I mean, I loved it. So what we did was, now it was my first time to Italy in general. He
Mhm.
wanted to take me. We had been dating for maybe a year and a half at that point. He wanted to take me home, meet his family. I was the first girl he had ever brought home. I was so excited. It was great. I was dying to go to Italy. I was so excited. I bit off a little bit more than I could chew. What I did was I planned us a trip, not only just to Sicily to see his family, but I thought we're going to hit every single major city in the whole country and do it in 2 weeks. I know what you're thinking, the rookie mistake. the mistake that all of us Americans do. I did it. Don't do it if you're listening. Let this be a warning to anybody out there. Don't do this.
It looks small, Europe in general, from someone living in the US. It's
Bravo.
not that small.
It's not. And okay, let's take into even consideration Sicily itself, right? We're an island, okay? But you figure to drive from one end to the other end of the island is like 5-6 hours. It's not even Sicily you cannot see in one go.
Because
sure, no.
important to know for everyone coming from the US, those big streets that you know, they don't exist here.
Woo-hoo-hoo! And just be ready. Be ready. If you think you're going to rent a car, if you're going to sign yourself up for that challenge, oh goodness me. Be prepared. Be mentally prepared. I wasn't. And by the way, it's a great segue into one of the first places I had us go on our first ever trip here in 2018 was the Amalfi Coast, where we rented our own car.
No.
And my husband is from this country. So even, we thought, are you kidding? We got this. No problem at all. Oh, will that test your relationship like none other when you're going up a road that's almost 90 degrees in a stick shift.
And the street is as wide as the car?
I think it's smaller than the car.
Depends on.
The car is wider.
Look, I drive a lot, and I drive a lot in the whole Europe because we are someone living in Germany, and from here you are reaching a lot of points quite easy all around us.
Where you are is a great place to just pick up and go anywhere.
France is like 1.5 hours driving distance. Switzerland is 2 hours
that's
away.
A dream.
Amsterdam is 5 hours away, so everything is closer. But the only place we were in, I don't remember the year, unfortunately, I think it was 2017 or 2016, we were in Lake Como. An amazing place, and we were there in a hotel, and then we want to do to visit some things. I don't even remember what. And after going on the steep mountain, so like this on the serpentines for about, I would say 15 minutes, and I end up in a place where I realize my car doesn't fit anymore. So I either I go up now, risking that maybe I will go down because there was no stopping on the other side, or I just back down and try to go down, and this is what I did, in the hope.
An actual nightmare.
In the hope that no car is coming. Luckily, after I think 2 serpents, I was able to turn the car around, but still. Oh my God.
Also, though, I have to say, Italians are pretty good about if you need to just reverse it, if like you just can't make it, they're pretty understanding because they're used to that.
Exactly. And there is no reason why they have small cars.
Exactly.
Because they have small roads. Historic-wise, they were not developed for cars. They were developed for horse carriages. So.
And in Sicily here in particular, you see that everywhere in the smaller towns. We were never going to be equipped for the bigger city, all the parking that's necessary, the cars,
So let's say the underestimation of the size was the first cultural shock that you had in Italy. But what was the thing that made you really laugh your stomach out on your first trips to Italy?
I think, and it's still, and you know what? To this day, it still kind of blows my mind. I still haven't even gotten acclimated to this, but in America, our culture is very, like you said, you mentioned it a little earlier, where we're polite, we're bubbly, we're outgoing, we're extroverted. Yes, all of that is true, but we also keep to ourselves in the sense of, I'm not going to try to be in the business of this random lady that I'm seeing in the street here. Whereas here, you get stared at into your soul. Everybody's business is everybody's business. Everybody is so nosy. Paul, even now, I cannot wrap my brain around it. I know I come across, I'm bubbly, I'm extroverted, but I'm a private person at the end of the day, which is hilarious because I'm a content creator. But
True.
when I'm in my own home or when I'm out and about and I'm doing errands, I'm in my own world. I'm doing my own thing, and that is just not a possibility here.
Nope.
That is one thing I will just never I don't think I will ever accept it, to be
But
honest with you.
but look, Danielle, I'm living in a country which is completely opposite. I
I
live
would
in
love
this.
it. I'm gonna be the way
No,
that the
no.
Germans operate where it's like no eye contact,
So
very
look,
just
it's funny. It's funny. It's cool. 5 years, six. I live in the same house since 2017. I don't know my neighbors from the other
that j
side.
what you just said right now is a blessing. To me, that's like a dream come true. Like, "Oh, my neighbors aren't constantly bothering me. They're beautiful, wonderful,
It's
good-natured,
not about that.
big-hearted people.
Yeah.
They'll come and they'll knock on your door and they want to give you the eggs from their chicken that they got that morning or whatever it may be, or to
Let's have
give
a
you the
coffee
town.
together.
Let's have
What
a
are you
coffee
doing
together.
there?
Let's get an espresso. Let me tell you about the new town gossip.
Exactly.
But I don't play like that. Oh my goodness. So, and this extended to my in-laws. Oh, I have just the funniest story to tell you. So, being private, being American, I show up to meet my in-laws for the very first time ever back in 2018 that summer. I'm bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and also really nervous and I speak zero Italian. I was asking my husband multiple times on the plane, "How am I going to say nice to meet
How
you?"
do you say
And
happy to meet you?
you said piacere, and I couldn't for the life of me remember it. I just couldn't get it to stick because I was so nervous. I didn't need to be nervous because I was in their house all of 2 seconds when my mother-in-law grabs me and says, "Come, come, come, follow me," takes me to their bathroom and hands me a towel very delicately. And I go, "Okay. Thank you, I guess. I guess this is what I'm supposed to use while I'm staying here at your house." And then she hands me another smaller towel, and she looks me dead in the eyes, deep into my soul, and she said, "This is for," as she whistles and does an upward motion, and she points to my booty. And so this is just a great example of Italian culture and just nothing is off limits, nothing is private. Your business is their business. And that was my very first impression of my mother-in-law.
Oh, this is so funny. This is so
You can
funny.
you cannot make this. I always say I'm gonna write a book one day of just every mishap that's ever happened.
Oh,
I can't tell language mishaps, these types of things. I am chock full of them.
but you start flirting with the language while traveling to Italy every once in a while. But what was your feeling when you said, "Okay, I think I will never manage to own this. I will never manage to to be confident to start a discussion with someone," or was it okay? I think I will learn it.
Oh, I love this question, first of all, because the very first year that we came here, I was terrified of the language. I was so embarrassed by where I was with the language. It was so difficult for me to put myself out there. My poor husband he was translator for everything. And I knew it was exhausting for him. He hated it. He's not a great teacher. He's not the type of person who will sit down and be patient and explain something out to you. He'll just say, it is that because it is that. What do you want me to say? And so it was kind of that. However, like I said, we had been together about maybe a decade prior to this. And even though we're living in America together, he's still taking phone calls to his family, his friends in Italian. We're watching films in Italian. We listen to music in Italian. So over the years, I had exposure. Thankfully, I had something, a baseline,
Mm-hmm.
because really that first year, I did not expect it to be so sink or swim. And I don't know if it was just like the naivety in me that I just thought, no, I think I've got a pretty great understanding. And you don't know until you are physically there in the country, living day to day. And mind you, we're here in Sicily. We're not in, let's say, Rome or Florence, where it's very tourist. It is getting touristic. I'll say that
Yeah.
for sure, but not to the extent of Rome and Florence, where they're used to such an influx of English speakers. Here it is Italian only, and then second to Italian, dialects of Sicilian. And so I had to get over a really deep fear of like being embarrassed. And after that year, I got to the point where I just did not care anymore. I said, it is what it is. When I go out and I say something wrong, it's better than not trying it at all. And I'm so glad I turned that corner. I think everybody, I won't speak for everybody, but I do think a lot of people find a similar situation in language learning. You kind of turn a corner at some point where you're like, it is what it is. I just have to try. I'll be
Look,
embarrassed.
there are two things that I have to say. So first of all, the moment in which you let go of your ego, because at the end it's only an ego
Thank
topic.
you. That's what it is. Beautifully said. It's an ego death.
You
That's
let
it.
you let go of your ego and say, you know what? I don't care if
Yeah,
if I'm not able to speak anymore. I don't
Yes.
care if I look retarded. I am.
Beautifully said.
It is like this, and I will do it. First of
Yeah.
all, second of all, look, the audacity that you have in your mother's language to ask, sorry, can you repeat that? I didn't understand what you said. It's not there in any other language that we speak. Like
Absolutely.
the fact that you ask "que" once and then maybe "que" twice and then you just give it up and you just try to go around supposing what they were saying.
I have been there more times than I care to admit.
Yes, exactly.
See, you just end
See,
up see.
yeah, I had my neighbors. Like I said this story a few times. My neighbors across the street from me, he was 95, she was 92. So, like you
Oh my
said, dialect
gosh.
in Italian. We had dialect in Germany. So Germany also not an easy language. We dialect,
Are
local
you? It's
dialect.
it's one of the hardest.
Trust me, 6 months after I moved, I did nothing else except
And that's it. Smile and nod. Smile and nod.
absolutely. But I have to ask you something. I had a lot the case in which I have prepared my speech. I was calling somewhere, prepared my speech, like,
Okay.
hello, my name is Paul.
Yep.
I would like to do that and that. And then they pick up the phone and somehow they destroyed my scenario. And then I was, did you have this?
All the time. Either that will happen and the conversation will take a completely different turn than I had planned in my head,
Exactly.
or it will go the way that I was hoping, and on my end, I go blank from nerves. I just go blank. There's nothing anymore. Anything I've prepared is gone because now I'm in the moment and I'm too overwhelmed.
Exactly. Look,
But yes, I can relate on a very, very deep, profound level.
Danielle, another question. I have to make an example before I ask the question. I have this story I haven't said until now. In the first one of the first months of Germany, I was invited to a barbecue to a colleague of mine. And usually, knowing the habits from Romania, like you go to a barbecue when someone invites you, and you think, okay, I'm a guest, so I will get something to eat as well.
Of
In the
course.
day when I was, yes, exactly, yeah, stupid. In the day when I was supposed to go, they said, they wrote me, yeah, I asked you when. They said, you should be here at 1, like German thing. We start.
Oh, and when it's one, they mean it's
Exactly.
not like Sicily where they mean 2 or 3
No.
or later. They mean
No.
on time.
1 is 1, exactly. And then is this, you can also use my grill if you bring something to cook. And then I
Wait,
was,
what? Oh, and I legitimately cannot relate because Sicilian culture could not be more opposite.
but still, is it a different habit when you have a guest in your house in Sicily compared to the guest in your house in the US?
Oh my goodness, yes. You are expected to basically put on a Broadway musical for whatever guest comes over. Nothing is too extreme, nothing is too much. Like, they will give you this entire platter of food, more than you would eat in 2 days worth of time, and say, "Please, manja, manja, manja. Why aren't you eating more? Why aren't you having more? What else can I get you? A water? A coffee? Do you want some wine? Should we go outside? Is the temperature good?" It is really a master class in being a host. And I love it, to be totally honest with you. I love going to a person's place or meeting up with them and getting this kind of treatment. And I love in return hosting people now and doing above and beyond for them. So again, I think it's just me personally um relating and coexisting really well within this culture. Because like I said from the get-go, I always was just very drawn to it and felt just really seen by what's at the heart and the core of how they operate here.
We mentioned this that the guest, you mentioned the thing that you accept. You discuss also the we discuss also about the things that you say, okay, it's hard for me to understand, like they are nosy here and there and so on. But I would like to ask you, what so if you need to pick one, what was the biggest culture shock that you had?
Ooh, the biggest culture shock that I had. I really fully still believed when I came here, and La Dolce Vita is just how Italy operates. And I know it's hilarious, but you have to understand, 10 years spent coming here was the highlight reel of what Italy is.
I call it the demo version.
Thank you.
Every visit that you have in a country is a demo
Thank you.
version.
That's it. That's it. I still had my vacation goggles on, my rose-colored glasses. We came every year, only in the summer. The summer here is beautiful. You're sipping wine by the beach and looking at a sunset and swimming and having the time of your life. And Sicily in August is not the same as Sicily in January, February. So along with it's not La Dolce Vita, like it's, and now this is a great example because you mentioned how America has been so romanticized in films for Europeans growing up. We have the exact opposite of Europe in
Ooh.
our films, where the American goes to find themselves in the European country and they live this slower, more beautiful, more peaceful life, connected more to people and nature. And yes, that is true. However, with all of that, you're trying to get your permesso di soggiorno at the questura, and you're lining up with 500 other immigrants when the office opens, and you're elbowing people to get to the front of the line so that you can hopefully maybe get a piece of paper that says you can be here legally. And that's what they're not talking about in the films, right? And so I really kind of came here with these, I like to call them vacation goggles, because I had really only ever experienced Sicily one way. And also, when we came every summer, you have to think we always stayed with my in laws. And we just talked about how do you host a person, right? So you have to figure we were getting the Four Seasons treatment
Once
from
a
his
year.
in laws.
Once a year. Come on. Like
They were showering us with whatever we want. The best gifts, the best food. She was whipping out all of like her best recipes. They were taking us to all the best spots, the best experiences. Um, so that adjustment was a little bit rough. And I think the adjustment was made even more difficult with the passing of my father-in-law. So
mhm.
I'll say that. My experience was unique. I Again, I don't want to speak for everybody else, but I do think that people who choose Sicily, maybe Americans or from another country who they don't have any connection to this place at all, right? They don't have family ties, they don't have friends here, they don't know any they just really fall in love with Sicily. I would guess that they might have an easier time than maybe I would here where I come and there's already expectations of me, cultural norms, familial expectation, right, to be a certain way. We almost kind of romanticize, what would it have been like if we had just chosen Sicily for ourselves and not because my family is here, his family, and we have all of these expectations of our lives here already from that as well.
But Daniele, considering the fact that it's because I'm sorry for smiling, but I'm just imagining now, and I have to. My imagination is really productive, and I have to ask you something. So, your first date with the Italian authorities, considering the fact that you had your husband with you all the time, and he was able to translate, that means you didn't have the all the time. I'm exaggerating, but you know what I mean. So you had the help of someone speaking the language. Still, please tell me, how was your first date with the Italian authorities?
Oh my goodness. Traumatizing. Traumatizing. So, this is again one of my favorite stories. I love to tell this one. We show up at the questura, and again, like I said, there's 500 other immigrants, and we're just fighting to get to the front. I finally get in, and they wave me inside, and of course, they put a big hand up to my husband. No, 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 not you though. And I had been in this country all of a few months. My language skills, and again, like I said, for a year, I was terrified to speak the language. I had to go in there and do a 4-hour appointment completely in Italian where they had to take photos of me. I had all of my fingerprints done. I had to answer all of these questions. There is nothing more sink or swim than that. And they were very nice. They were very understanding about it, and they kind of tried to meet me halfway, but I really did my best to take that entire experience and do it in Italian. This is kind of what got me to that other side where I just stopped. It really, if I could go back, I would do it exactly the same again because it really pushed me to challenge myself and get to that next level.
Flight or fight. That's the only
Without
moment.
exactly, exactly, and without, like you kinda said, without the help of him kind of there, always being that sort of, like, security blanket, let's say, in a sense, right? And so, I would do it all over again. One of the scariest I'll never forget, I came out of there 4 hours later, drenched in sweat from just nerves and anxiety and trying to get by an Italian, and I lock eyes with my husband and I said, "You owe me a gelato. After all of that,
Makes
I'm at
sense.
least gonna get gelato out of this."
Makes sense. But there are. I do guess that there was a panic moment when you realize, oh my god.
Are you kidding? Panic is, I think, an understatement. I was beside myself. I couldn't I couldn't believe I was there alone. And these are like tricky questions. These are the questions that are going to determine if they let you live in their country or
Exactly.
not. So
Exactly. Like,
imagine you say the wrong thing accidentally,
how
you
did you get?
confuse a
How did you get?
word.
How did you get married? Did you only married for
Exactly,
the?
right?
Crazy.
And thank goodness at the end it all went smoothly, but oh, Sicily in particular is very much like that though.
Yeah.
It'll test you and challenge you in ways that you never thought you were strong enough to overcome. And I am really grateful for Sicily for all of those lessons.
What do you think that Sicily is doing, and in particular, Sicily is doing better than the States?
Ooh. Well, first and foremost, I have to talk about it because it's just the core of who I am. But food, and not just because it tastes better, genuinely, it's better for you. And that has to be said because I really do believe it plays a huge part in health, longevity, overall happiness. For example, I'm lactose intolerant in the United States. I can't even look at a piece of cheese. And here it's one of the biggest food groups I consume. Gelato, cheese, all of it. All of it all the time. And so I think they really prioritize living a long and healthy life, which is exactly the opposite of the burnout culture that we are programmed into thinking means that we are productive, worthy American citizens back in the States.
Look, there is. I have to say, I love Italy as much as I love the States, but I have to say the one thing was a shock for me. We were in a city, also business trip. I finished work really late, and I was not in the mood to go out to eat because I was tired, and it was already 8, 9 p.m. I said I have to sleep tomorrow morning. I have to be again at work, and I wanted to order something to take away, and there was no option. And I realized then, oh my god, how cool is that? How cool is the fact that you are not able to take that food, eat it on the side of your bed, because this is what you do. You eat it on the side of your bed, then you go directly into sleep. Then it cannot.
They want you to sit down. They want you to
Exactly.
stop your day. They want you to
Exactly.
be in that moment. They want you to enjoy because they're cooking here with love. That has to be said. I really truly
Absolutely.
think that's the secret ingredient here. I will stand by that. Uh my mother-in-law's cooking in particular, I think is some of the best I've ever had and because she puts love in there. If she knows she's making it for us, there's that extra factor. But the fact is, they take away that option for you to scarf it down in your car or to have it in your hotel room and go to bed. And that is a beautiful thing, truly.
Daniel, I have to ask you one thing. Maybe it's a bit of a philosophical discussion, but why do you think the quality is before quantity in Italy?
Oh, because they don't care about making money here.
Oh,
That's
that's a good
100% the
one.
truth. They do not see it as a business. Nothing here is with a business mentality. What is first and foremost is the good of the people before anything else. And as much as I love America, I don't think I can really say the same for America because I think it's more of
Only.
quantity means more money means more production, more money. And you know what I mean? And then it's kind of this vicious cycle. They really couldn't be bothered by it because at the end of the day, like I said, they're putting their heart and soul. Any person from Italy in any region, if you talk to someone from Puglia, Calabria, they want to show you their best dishes from their region. They're so proud of them. They want to sit down with you. They want to see you enjoying that meal because to them, at the end of the day, it's not about the dollar sign at all.
This is such a good point. I never thought about this, but this makes a lot of sense. For sure,
Yes.
not in the touristic area. We discuss it again.
Well, of course, and there's
Is
always
someone
exceptions to everything I'm
absolutely?
saying, of
Yeah,
course. You know, and my perspective is mainly limited to here. We're in Sicily, we're on an island. For sure, that's the mentality here.
yeah.
Probably in other places in Italy as well, but yeah, that's the first thing that comes to my mind anyway.
You know what? One of the things that I like from the US is Chipotle. Most probably you know Chipotle.
Oh, don't make me cry. I don't know why. It's crazy you bring this up. This week in particular, I have had such a hankering for like American Tex-Mex food, guacamole.
I'm
Oh,
sorry. Look, if you ever travel to Germany, there is only one Chipotle in Europe.
no way. It's
Look,
Germany.
I gave you now the news. In Frankfurt, there is a Chipotle, and it's
No.
yes.
Okay,
And
you
I
know
have
I'm
to
the type
say,
of person that would book a flight just
I
for
mean, I'm
that.
sorry for this.
Ooh, that's bad news for me. I have no self-control. when it comes to, I will travel for food. I mainly do travel for food. Oh, that's so bad. Oh no.
So look, and it's I go every once in a while. We go. My wife
Oh,
likes it as well,
what a
so we go.
treat. Oh,
It's I would dare to say it's really good. It's not most probably the 100% thing that you know from the States, but still it's really good and
a
it's
good
worth the
variation
experience.
of it though, I'm sure.
Exactly. Germany has its share of American culture due to the amount of U.S. Army being stationed here, and that's why there are a lot of things which are singular in Europe. There was also a cheesecake factory. I'm sorry, but it's closed. Sorry, I no.
Sometimes I really think, "Ah, should we have gone to another place in Europe that's at least a little bit more mixed? Because really, truly here, it is Sicilian food only. And if you're lucky, Italian food is the exotic food. They
Because
branch out
it's
to the
really
rest of the
good.
country because really, it truly is some of the best in the world.
Yeah,
And
but I can
honestly,
understand. I can
right,
understand your point. I can
wanting
look
the variation from time to
exactly.
time.
I live myself. I live in a village, so it's somewhere in the south of Germany, around Stuttgart, which is not such a mixed culture. So
Okay.
I get a bit of Indian food, which is really okay, which is
Oh,
really good.
okay. At least
In the
it's
meantime,
something.
exactly, we get a lot of Italian because there are still a lot of people that move from Italy up in
Okay.
Germany. So we have a lot of Italian own restaurants. So not only the Italian food, but also you have the culture in there. Not all of them, but like
Okay.
the spots every once in a while. But Chipotle is a once in a lifetime experience. But I want to get to the point. If you really are a food addict, so if you like the mix of things, I can only recommend London. So
Oh,
if you
I
have, I don't
agree.
know, a city break, I don't know, whatever you want to do, and you want to focus it on, I think in London you can find
I
literally
completely agree with what you're saying.
everything.
Hands down.
Everything.
Hands down. We went to London last year. My husband is a huge fan of the band Oasis, which are based in the UK.
I think I could be a good friend with your husband.
He is a super fan. I will connect you two after this. He is a super fan. We went to London to see them at Wembley, and let me just say, side note, he had the audacity to not cry a single tear at our wedding, but cried like a baby the entire Oasis concert. So, if that puts it into
Oh,
perspective for you, he has been a fan of Oasis since probably before I was born, like
I'm sorry for laughing.
1991, 1992. I mean, his entire life. He
Oh,
might
this
love
is
them
really
more
cool.
than he loves me. I honestly. But anyway, we went last summer for this concert, and we went for him to see Oasis, and we went for me that I could get my fix of international food. And we tried it all. And when I tell you, it was one of the most incredible culinary experiences of my life. I did my own sort of little DIY tour. Like I put together my own little food tour where we stopped at the markets and we stopped at all the best restaurants. And so we each got the vacation that we wanted at the end of the day.
For whomever is here and think, oh, they can talk about food, yes, we can. So if you have a different expectation, it's okay. I'm here. I love it. Have you tried Nando's?
Oh, of
In
course. Of course. It's a
Why they
staple.
don't make Nando's everywhere? Why?
They wouldn't be I'll tell you this, they would not be popular in Italy. They would be
For sure.
popular in Germany and other places.
Exactly.
100% yes. In
I
Italy,
mean,
no, but in the rest of
no.
Europe, yes.
Yes, for sure. I
I don't
mean,
know why they don't branch out.
come on.
I agree. I agree
Oh,
wholeheartedly. It's a missed opportunity. They're already making great money. Of course they are, because imagine how many Nando's locations there are across the
absolutely.
UK.
Absolutely.
Probably as many as we have McDonald's in America. But branch out. The rest of Europe will definitely support that endeavor. Delicious chicken. Oh, delicious chicken.
If we go on like this, I think I'm gonna be hungry when we finish this, and it's not healthy. It's too late for that. I mean, for you, it's not even yet dinner time, so you still have time.
Well, exactly. I know you were saying it was so late for me to eat dinner in Italy at 8 or 9 PM.
Yeah.
Like,
I was
oh
I
no.
was really shocked when I went
That's
for
when
so.
we just get started.
Look, I was I was going to search for a pickup. Then I said, okay, I cannot pick anything up. Then I will go somewhere to eat. It was 20 before 8. So like I've really an idiot. Like I was searching for the
We're not
restaurant.
as
So
bad as Spain, but they're pretty strict on the 8 PM or later
absolutely.
rule.
8 p.m. There was nothing open before 8 p.m. I was sitting in the car like a just waiting for the restaurants to open. This
Please,
was
please open. Please. I'll pay you right now just to give me some food.
yeah, okay. Yeah. It is how it is. Cultural differences again.
Yep,
I asked you what Sicily was doing better than US and we went on a full rant about food.
of
But I
course.
want to switch the question. What is the US doing better than Italy?
Ooh. Do you know what I miss the most is leaving my home and needing to get a very specific errand done. Let's say I need to pick up something very particular. I don't know, maybe a broken part from my washing machine. Let's just say as a very random example. I could leave my house in America, be in my car, easily drive the big, open, spacious highway really easily in my automatic car, be there within 5, 10 minutes, go in the store, ask the person, he points it out. I've already paid, I'm back in my car. I go through the drive through to get myself a nice little iced coffee because I got my little part that I needed. And I'm back home and it didn't even take me an hour to probably get all of that done. You take that exact same situation and I try to get that done in Sicily, it could take me upwards of 2 weeks. That's not an exaggeration. I wish I was lying.
But do you think it's because of the convenience is not there as it is in the US? Like it's not so easy available to go and buy whatever you need?
Correct. So with
Okay.
that, I would say, the big stores that we're famous for where there's kind of a little bit of everything, it's a one-stop shop. Nothing here is a one-stop shop. You're going to be going to multiple locations. You also have to consider those stores are going to close from 1 p.m. to 4 p.m. So you're either waking up very early to get it done before 1 p.m. because they close for lunch, or you have to make sure that you're available later in the afternoon, 4 p.m. or later, to go and get that thing you need. And the thing is let's say you need that one part I gave an example. You might go to a store and the guy might say, "Oh, my cousin Giuseppe, who lives 2 streets over, knows a guy who can point you in the right direction." And so now you're doing like a scavenger hunt of trying to find Giuseppe, and then he didn't even like have the connection at the end of the day, and it's just
But
sometimes it feels very, very frustrating, and along with that is just bureaucracy in general. I will say, if you don't know a guy, if you come here and you don't have, like, an insider connection, you will not get things done. I've been extremely fortunate that my husband and his entire family is here. We have a connection to everything we could need. We have a guy who hooks us up with olive oil. We have a guy who hooks me up to get my paperwork done in time so that I'm not waiting a decade for my permesso di soggiorno. We know a guy who can come and fix your washer machine or something else is broken. If you don't know these people, I don't know how you function here.
this is so interesting because this is the power of the connection. This is the power of knowing the right people. Because if you don't know the right people, nothing. And I know this from communist Romania. It's so interesting. I know it from communist Romania because you could not get anything if you didn't have the right connection in the
There
right
you
place
go.
because you could not get
Bravo.
anything done.
And that just kind of like just goes to show you how the country has operated for so long. And it's just kind of these things that are ingrained in the country itself, which is not inherently a bad thing. It's just how they do things.
Exactly. It's just a cultural difference. This is
Yeah.
really important thing, Daniel, and I'm so happy that you said we don't criticize anything. We don't criticize the culture. We
No.
talk about the difference, and this is so nice.
Absolutely.
Really, to discover the difference, so interesting for me. This is one of the big benefits that I have talking to so many people. This is makes so much fun. It's
We're all human at the end of the day, and I think we're just a big immigrant community. So many people move and wanna make a new life for themselves, and I can even connect with someone who's lived in the same little town in America their whole life too. Like, we're all humans just trying to figure it out in this world.
it's so sad that we talk about borders and we talk about who's owning which piece of land in 2026 when we could all just live together. It's not so
I
complicated.
cannot believe we are having these same they're like archaic
Exactly.
conversations.
Exactly.
How are we still in that mentality that we're even talking about such things?
I think it's the discussion about ego, Daniele. Like, right? It's
It
about
really
it.
goes back to that. I hate to
Exactly.
say it.
It's
And I'll
unfortunate with that.
segue into loving the fact that this culture is not based on ego in the slightest.
Hmm.
That is
That's
never at the forefront. Connection is at the forefront. And I think that's why, you know,
do you see the difference in the need of a status from US and not need the
oh my
necessary?
goodness, I'll give you the perfect example. When you meet somebody new in America, I'll tell
Where
you
what do you do for work?
thank you. Thank you. Thank you. The conversation goes it's like a script that we have been programmed. I am going to base my entire perception of you based on what you answer to me, what you do to make money in this world. And I think that's a horrible way to look at it. I think a job is just scratching the surface of what and who a person is, truly.
Absolutely 100%. But I work in a big corporation, and I have to say that in the last, I don't know, 2 or 3 years, I avoid to say my position quite often, and I frustrate so many people around me.
I respect that so much because it shouldn't be that important.
No, I just
What's
you know
important to me more than what do you do for work is, are you happy in the work that you do? I
exactly.
hope you are. I
What are
genuinely
your
do.
hobbies? What do you like to do when you are free?
Exactly.
What's your favorite? I don't know. What's your favorite band? We discuss about
What is your
music.
family like? What do you like to do? Where do you like to go?
Look, I got into the rabbit hole of country music, being in the US a few times because I was in South Carolina, and you cannot go
Oh
away. No, North
gosh.
Carolina, sorry, but you cannot go away from country. If you listen to
You
the
can't
radio,
escape it. No.
absolutely. And I learned to love Jelly Roll, which is, I don't know if you still follow them, but Jelly Roll and Post Malone had a concert in Milano
Ah,
last year.
yes, of course. No, this was a big deal. This was a really
Exactly.
big deal.
And we drove, all three of us with my son and my wife, to
Oh, how
Milano for the concert. And
sweet.
we talked with the concert. You drove only for the concert, like 6 hours? Yes.
That's
Why?
nothing. That's absolutely nothing for a beautiful experience with your family.
Exactly.
It's priceless.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh my
Yeah, but
goodness.
it's again cultural differences, status, the status feeling that is needed everywhere, and I think this is
Absolutely.
not so healthy on a long term.
I am glad to be away from that. That's
Yeah.
one of the things that I miss the least for sure as I live here.
Is there a do you think that Sicily is teaching people to live and US is teaching people to achieve?
Ooh. Yes, I think that's a beautiful way to put it. I think that's a super poetic way
Oh,
to
thank
put
you.
it. Because again, this goes back to what we just said. I've never had a single person approach me with, what do you do for work? What has your background been professionally? It's more like, what are your lived experiences? Who are you? Do we connect just like on that human level? And I think that is missing a little bit in American culture. I was lucky enough that I cultivated some of those relationships with my really good friends. I always laugh because I've got my husband's family here now, and I always laugh. I miss my friends in America more than I miss anybody else because they were my chosen family, you know? And they operate kind of in the same way that I do, where it's like, I rather care about how you're living your life than about what you're achieving in life. And they'll kind of support me no matter what. And that coincides very deeply with Italian culture, I would say.
That's so nice you said. I think the friends, the real friends are the one in front of which you are allowed to be weak. You're allowed to be open,
Absolutely,
you're allowed to share
absolutely.
and not to brag about anything. Like this is what I think real friendship should be like. But there's a huge difference. This grinding culture of US, it's so interesting because it's of course the American dream. It's also the idea of working your ass out. Sorry for saying that, but working
No,
your ass
it's
out on different level.
true.
And yes, it's nice and I think it's good for whomever wants to do it, but I don't think should be a must for everyone that just to survive. Because
Well,
I
and
think it's
that's where we are, which is the
exactly
most terrifying part
like if you
to
want to get
me.
rich,
And
please go
watching
on.
it from across the world like I am is just a very unique position to be in. And I'll tell you this, which you might not know, but here in Italy, they really like to I know how dire the situation is in America, but they really hyperbolize it here. They love a dramatic flair here in Italy. They are basically saying every day in the news. I don't know what the news is like, what you're getting like from Germany, let's say, but they say nothing short of America is burning to the ground as we know it, and it's so scary to think that I have people that I care about that are just fighting every day to just survive. How many more shifts can I pick up so that my rent is covered this month, so that I can feed myself and my family this month? That never was what America was about. And to see it crumble to this is so disheartening. And at the same time, it breaks my heart, but I'm also relieved that we made the choice to move when we did. Because in hindsight, I can't imagine what it must be like to live there day in and day out. We're extremely blessed here. We live here on a local salary, by the way, here in Italy, not, anything extravagant, but you can live a life, a beautiful life, and that's what this country is about here in Italy. America used to be the same once upon a time.
And as I said, if you want to be rich, do that. Do work three shifts. I don't know. Do grind
Absolutely.
day, night. Don't sleep. It's your choice. But it
Yeah.
should not be the normal thing
It
when you want
should
to
not be
survive.
necessary to just
Exactly.
live and survive.
I
And I
have
think that's
something.
what people are doing is surviving.
I have something in my head. In I think one of the first episodes that I've ever done, I had someone from US move to Spain, and they said something which somehow burned in my head. They said the difference between midlife, no, sorry, not midlife, the difference between the mid-level family, like the average income and average status, and completely broke is a car accident. And
It's
this
so well
was
put. And honestly, besides my father-in-law falling ill, I think a huge factor for my husband was we lived in the back of our brains, and it was just it's you don't even consciously think about it because it's always playing in the back of your mind is, I am one accident, I am one medical emergency away from being in financial turmoil, which is a devastating reality to live in. And that was for us back then. I can't even imagine now when you can't, on top of that, you cannot put like food on the table, let's say, or what you used to, or the lifestyle you used to live. And it's not that you lived an extravagant lifestyle, you lived a normal one. But now you're having to make sacrifices. That is so well put and so accurate for so many Americans. Disney World is a great example of people working. It was horrible. you would see them in their 80s, in their 90s,
I've seen it.
and
I've seen it.
they're still being a greeter in Walt Disney World. You shouldn't be here at all. As much maybe you love the job, maybe they do, that's fine, but they're there because
They have to.
they have to be. They're getting health insurance with that position. You know, their medication is covered that way, and it's just so disheartening.
Absolutely, absolutely. I have to say this is. I was shocked for how many elderly people I've seen in the U.S. still working in Walmart, in
Ah,
in
Walmart's another great example.
exactly Walmart's
It's
another.
another great example that you'll see and you think to yourself, "What are you doing here?"
Yeah, they have to.
And they
They
have
have,
to.
and most of them veterans already served for
Ah,
the country, and then you think, okay, why? What's the
after
benefit
all
of
the
this?
sacrifice, after
Exactly.
everything that you've done,
Yeah.
and your country can't even thank you properly and support you for the rest of your days.
And maybe important to say because I had a lot of comments in the past where people were saying, yeah, but they come to Europe and it's not free. Nobody's saying it's free. Everyone is
No,
saying that
definitely it's not free.
it's affordable and
It's affordable.
doesn't get you broke,
That's
doesn't
the
get you,
difference.
it that didn't that it's not destroying your life, which is a
Absolutely.
huge difference. A huge I was talking to a colleague of mine from the US, and we just had our son. So my wife gave birth, and she asked me, okay, and how much did you pay for it? Yeah, nothing. Like, no, that cannot be.
As
How?
it should be. You are doing the
Exactly.
most natural thing in the world, which
Yeah.
is to bring a human being into this world. What are you paying for? Genuinely, realistically,
Yeah, it's
this is a basic human right.
yeah, no, no.
I live in a fantasy world in in my head where I just think food and water and housing and these type of basic rights should be available to everybody. I'm very much a peace love hippie kind of gal. Um I want the world, but
I have to say that you said about water, and I still think the cleverest guy on this planet was the one that bottled still water. So
the world's smartest man and the world's greediest man. It just
yeah,
which is a great, it ties into, I think, again, Sicilian culture in a way which is very much they eat the produce from the land.
uh,
Everything is grown
yeah.
local. They're so proud of that. It's completely affordable. I had one of my videos on my social media completely blow up because I showed everybody the amount of strawberries I could buy here for €5.
That's the video that got me to you. That's the
There you
video that
go.
got me to
Okay.
you.
Okay, so great, you know the example, and
Absolutely.
people lost their
Yeah.
minds,
Yeah.
and in my head, I didn't blink. I didn't have a second thought because that's how it should be worldwide. You should be eating good for you, locally grown, affordable, fresh food. But again, I'm very much like, I want world peace and I want humanity's happiness.
That
Um,
Daniele, you mentioned food, and I think we all can agree that in Sicily, food is a language of love. So
oh, 100%.
everyone that is feeding you is showing how much they love you by feeding you. And I want to ask you, what is your favorite food from Sicily? But not only your favorite food, because that's a hard thing. But the favorite food, like, we don't talk about carbonara. We don't talk about like the things that are universally known. I talk about your favorite food from Italy. Like we talk about the brioche. I think not a lot of people know the brioche, but I want that thing that is not that well known, and you say, "Oh my god, this is blowing my mind."
So the very first one that comes to my mind, and people are going to have an open mind about this one. And now I'll preface by saying I'm a pretty adventurous eater. I think that's pretty self-explanatory with my food and beverage background, being a chef. I will try anything once. However, this dish is purely Sicilian. You will not find it anywhere else. It is called stigiola. And what it is it's, hold your horses, it's lamb intestines, and they stuff it with fresh green onion, and it's a really, really thin piece of meat, and they freshly grill it, and it's beautifully charred, and you hit it with sea salt and fresh lemon off of the grill, and it is spectacular. It is so good. You would never know it is a funky piece of meat from the animal. It is a dish that they are extremely proud of. Sicilians, it's no secret they have overcome so much poverty
Mhm.
and people taking over the island over the years, beautiful influences of Norman and Arab and war and being a port and all of that. That they have taken every single part of an animal that you can eat, absolutely no waste. They are not wasteful people. They say no butta, don't throw away
Not throw
anything.
away. Yes,
Don't throw away
exactly.
anything. So they've taken this very humble part of the animal and made it into just something absolutely spectacular. And along that line is the humble vegetable of the eggplant. We have so many eggplant dishes here that are literally mind blowing. You think an eggplant, it's a humble vegetable. Who cares? It's not that exciting. They have taken it and made it exciting in the form of caponata, which is my all-time favorite Sicilian dish, more than the stigiola. My Sicilian mother-in-law makes the best I've ever had. It's a sweet and savory kind of eggplant salad with tomatoes and capers and olives and all of the delicious Mediterranean things. And then we're also famous for our pasta alla norma, which is with the eggplant as well, and then salted ricotta cheese. Mind blowing. Mind blowing.
Do, is the alla parmigiana also coming from eggplant alla
It
parmigiana as well?
is.
Okay.
Bravo. I would wager any famous eggplant dish you can think of, the origin is most likely Sicily. It's their favorite vegetable. I didn't care too much for I thought I like all vegetables. I like everything. I'm not picky at all. But I never was, wow, I'm so crazy about eggplant until I came to Sicily and I understood, okay, you guys do magical things
Mhm.
with this vegetable.
What do you think is the biggest mistake that the tourists are making in Sicily while ordering food?
Ooh, while ordering food. It's a tough one because I find it really hard to go wrong. This is really controversial. And it's going to obviously, there's always things that go against the rule, right? There's always like, situations that aren't the norm.
Coffee before
However,
food. Coffee before food. No go.
thank you.
No,
That's
no.
this. There, you're gonna get the side eye for the cappuccino thing. That's an all of Italy thing, not just a Sicily thing. But as controversial as this might sound, you would really be hard pressed to find a bad plate here in Sicily. Palermo specifically, because you figure I'm by Palermo, right? So that's kind of where I am. And I'm biased, but I think we have the best food on the island, and I think it's really hard to find like a tourist trap. I don't think I've yet to see it. You could eat in the heart of the city on our most touristic street, and you will still get a wonderful, wonderful meal.
This is so interesting because usually you have it in the big cities, you have it everywhere. But I'm with you. I was in Palermo and never had a problem while eating. So
Thank you.
I'm
So you're making my point here, which is I know it's a hard thing to grasp because you can easily, let's use the example of go to Rome and find a very bastardized version of
Roma, Venezia,
carbonara
Florenza. You
that
pick
they're
pick
using
one. Just
panna or cream and they're making
yeah.
it Americanized, or they have fettuccine on the menu for us. But here, specifically in Palermo, you would be really hard pressed to find something that isn't delicious because they are so soulful and proud of their food here. Truly. Like, they know that it's some of the best
Like
in
you
the
said
whole
it,
of the country.
you said it before. You said they don't do it for the money, and I think that makes it somehow
I think this is really it. That's the core
exactly.
of it. At the end of the day, it's not. My husband loves to joke. He goes, "If we could move in Americans and Germans into Sicily and just have them take over for a year, just a year, because nobody here has a business mentality. Nobody here is cares about making money. They want to be well fed, they want to be loved, they want to be with loved ones, they want to have a good life. They want to have their espresso in the afternoon, they want to go and swim in the sea. They're they're not concerned monetary wise. And so he always jokes because it drives him crazy because they are so relaxed in that sense. He's more Americanized because he had such a taste of the American dream and making himself a lovely career back in Orlando. So it's been a really tough culture adjustment for him, like a reverse
Reverse,
culture
yeah.
shock coming back and like trying to accept the fact that he sees the business and he goes, you could branch out, you could expand, you could
Why?
monetize more, you could make multiple locations. And they're like, why? I want the one location. I'm going to close it for the entire month of August so I can go on vacation with my family. I don't care.
I don't know if you know the story with the fisherman. I don't know if you're aware. This, so there is a businessman going to a business trip to a holiday in Italy, and he's meeting a fisherman. He's asking, "What do you do every day? What's your schedule?" Yeah, I wake up so roughly about 8, 9. Then I go to fish a bit. Then I get some fish home. Then I feed my family. We had a nice glass of wine. I sell a bit of fish which is left, and then we just enjoy the day. Yeah, but that's really wrong. You should go like really early in the morning, start at 5 a.m., then get more fish, then sell more, then buy another boat. Yeah, but why? Yeah, so that you can sit with your family and enjoy a glass of wine. Yeah, that's
I love that. I've never heard that, by the way, but it perfectly sums up what I've seen every day with my own eyes for the 3 years
yes,
I've lived here.
yeah.
Genuinely.
Yes,
Genuinely.
absolutely. I most probably butchered the story because it's a longer version, but this is
No,
the
but I
core of it.
appreciate the cliff notes, and that is just perfectly a perfect summarization of Italy,
Yeah.
truly.
Um, you mentioned social media, Daniel, and thanks social media that I could get in contact with you. But I
Oh,
want to
I'm
ask you, when
so
was
glad
the
I came
moment?
across your feed.
So happy. What was the moment when you thought, okay, I think it makes sense to make this publicly?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked this because I think this really goes hand in hand. It's a it's the perfect example of me being really scared to speak the language for that first year, right? Okay. And I couldn't get over this mental hurdle that I was giving myself, this fear. And I was the only person stopping me. I was my biggest enemy at that point,
Ego,
right?
ego.
Ego.
Ryan
Always
Holiday, ego is the enemy. I have a recommendation for everyone.
that
An
is just gonna
amazing
be
book.
the motto. I love it so much. And it's so funny because I had a big going away party with all of my friends in Orlando. And I have a really great friend. Her name is Lise, and she's originally from Estonia. And she's lived in Orlando as long as my husband did, has made a great career for herself in America, is just the sweetest girl. And at my going away party, she pulls me to the side and she goes, I want you to promise me that when you're over there, you will consider writing about your experience, whether it be a blog or you make a website or you make videos or, you have a social media or you do something. She goes, I would love to be able to, if I'm missing you or if I'm thinking about you or if I want to just get an update of what's going on with you, to just kind of go in and check in that way too. And she goes, because I want you to thrive there. I want you to be happy. And she goes, and honestly, people would love to see your experience while you're there. And I remember after that conversation thinking, there's no way in hell I'm going to put myself out there publicly on social media or otherwise. This goes back to I mentioned many times I consider myself a private person. When I'm in my home or I'm here, I don't want to be bothered, this and that. And the moment we moved here, I started making videos, and I just didn't even really realize I was doing it. But I just started documenting everything from the very first day. And about a couple years into it, I'm running out of space on my phone and I'm like, "Oh gosh, I have no more space to take any more photos or videos." My husband looks at me and goes, "What are you doing with all of those videos and photos exactly?" And I go, "I don't know. I just was so inclined to document it. Everything was like new to me and was exciting, and there was just like some sort of element this of excitement and newness." And I go, "I really need to take all of these and do something with it." And he goes, "It took you long enough. We've all been telling you this from the beginning, to just get over your fear of being judged, being perceived, because that's a very real part of it. I don't know if you saw on that strawberry video, some people like it and some people don't, and you have to live with that."
It doesn't
And
matter.
once again, it goes back to ego, ego. I said, "I have a story to tell. I have a unique perspective on this." And my thought from the very beginning was, I am not going to portray Sicily as this wonderful La Dolce Vita. I'm always drinking an Aperol spritz and having the time of my life, because that has never been my experience here. We moved here with the death of my father-in-law, who I love dearly, and we've been fighting bureaucracy and paperwork and all kinds of nonsense since then. Do I enjoy an Aperol spritz with a Sicilian sunset? Absolutely, I do. That happens. But not every day. I still live here day to day, figuring it out and just recording it. And I just figured, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. It's very raw. It's very vulnerable. It's got my kind of humor in it woven throughout as well from these experiences. And I don't know, I just figured, I'm gonna listen to my friend at the end of the day who recommended me this years ago now, and go for it. And the community that I've built, the people that I've met, you reached out to me. I've done a couple other podcasts now. The people I've met, the immigrants I've met, the expats I've met, the people who message me and say,
Connect.
the
Things connect you.
connection is just,
Exactly.
it's been the biggest blessing, and I'm so grateful I had the balls finally to just do it.
And talking about the issues, Danielle, it's such uncommon on social media, because usually social media, it's all
It's the
about
highlight reel of
showing.
someone's life.
Absolutely.
It's
And
the make-believe vacation Pinterest version. I saw this beautiful photo. It was taken with a drone, and it was at sunset at the peak of the season at this beautiful picturesque place, but that's a glimpse into a
absolutely.
place that functions like any other in this world,
Look,
day to
I told
day.
you. Look, I told you this today. I was in San Vito Lo Capo, and I had a drone back then, and I was wanting to film this. How the beach looks like in San Vito, and then this
It's
stone.
gorgeous.
It's
It's
gorgeous.
it's perfect for a drone.
And look, I lifted my drone. Yeah, everything was amazing. And then I was looking at my phone, because I usually don't look at the drone. And then I realized that the drone is stopping every once in a while. And I realized there was a bird kicking my drone from the top.
You are not serious.
And then I just panicked. I said, "Okay, what am I doing now? What am I doing now?" And then I had to pick it up. So not everything is amazing. Trust me. Like, Instagram is
And
lying.
and honestly, this story is great because it just so coincides with my whole social media, which is like this only in Sicily thing. I
Exactly.
say this at least only in Sicily that would happen. And I'm not it's true. Like, we are such a unique place. We are we're so alike to the rest of Italy and so completely different to the rest of Italy in so many ways.
Look, I think we need two things. We need the honesty. We need the fact that we have to share good and bad
And bad.
and bad. And bad is part of life, and everyone has to be aware that bad is part of life. Most probably, you know David Ramsey. I don't know if you know David Ramsey.
Of
He has
course.
of course, you know David Ramsey. And he said something which I connected to really a lot. We said, okay, someone called in and said, okay, I think I'm a failure because I'm 30 and I don't have a big house, I don't have a family, I don't have a car. And I see everyone on Instagram doing flexing with cars here and there and with their house. And I said, no, honey, you don't understand. Like back then when we were keeping up with the Jones, you knew Mrs. and Mr. Jones. And you know
Yeah.
that sometimes Mr. Jones was kicking Mrs. Jones. And you know also that they had
Absolutely.
issues, they had fights, they were discussing contradictorily, and you heard that because they were your
Behind
neighbors.
closed doors and in front are two different realities.
Exactly. Now you don't see the bad things of the Jones because they
No.
don't show it anymore.
Which is the
You only
bad side, I think, of social media.
exactly,
It's kind of
exactly,
warped our mentality a little bit, I think, in a negative way, which
exactly.
is why I was so adamant that I'm just going to tell my very truthful experience of life here, all rough edges included, all of it included.
Do you feel a pressure to show only the good things? Do you think that there are people that are
Absolutely. I will say this. A lot of people are extremely triggered when my content isn't solely, I love Italy, it's very aesthetic, I eat beautiful meals every day, I live la dolce vita. I've gotten some serious backlash for having the audacity to say it's not perfection here. And that's okay. That's someone's opinion. That's probably their own projection of whatever they've got going on in their lives, and that's okay. And I've come a long ways to understand that.
look, they are all looking for an escape and you are destroying their escape plan. You are destroying their
Thank you. That's a
dream.
great way to put it. It's almost too real. I have another great video that I did where this very unhinged social media person came and wrote me, I kid you not, probably 50 comments, all one after the other of, I cannot believe she complained. She's the worst American. This is why we don't want Americans in our country. They have such a bad rep. And I took a screenshot of just all of the hate this person had left me and said, guys, if you want to follow my page, I'd love to have you here. I love to build my community. I would love to have you here. But I'm not going to stop talking about the hard parts. And that does not take away from my love of Sicily at all. If anything, it strengthens it. I like to compare Sicily. We have a famous plant here called Fico di India, and it's a cactus. It's our most famous cactus. It grows in these harsh, horrible conditions. It can survive anything, but every summer it makes these beautiful fruits that you can eat. But even the fruits are filled with the cactus spikes. So even to eat the fruit, you have to be careful. So it can be prickly, it could be messy, it could be hard and rough on the outside, but in the inside is such a beautiful, wonderful, lively thing. And I think that's just the perfect way to describe Sicily in particular. I cannot speak for all of Italy, but, and it's, like I said, it's challenged me and made me grow in ways. I'm a much stronger, more independent, much more tough of a person because of it.
I think this is really a good point of the social media. I think about this quite a lot. I do this since more than a year. I enjoy the process, and I will do this as long as I will enjoy the process. I will, of
I
course, you
love
can.
that. As long
You,
as you enjoy it. I love that mentality.
exactly. So you see, I enjoyed the conversation. I don't do it because I have to. For that, I already have a job that I do because I have
Yeah.
to. So if I want to do this as a hobby, then I do it because I enjoy it. And
Your
then
passion, your calling, because it
exactly.
gives you happiness.
And then you have people, like you said, that are coming into your comment section says, yeah, but you should not do that. Or you have friends, at least in my case, who say, yeah, but your podcast is too long. Nobody has the patience to watch. I don't care.
Then it's not for
If
them. The right people
exactly,
will find it though.
exactly. And this is again the same with the content. You are here for my content. You should not try to change my content. If you
I
don't like
love
it,
that perspective.
go.
Thank you for saying that. Sometimes it's hard to forget that message, but it really is the truth at the end of the day that if it's not meant for you, that's okay. And I have no animosity towards you at all.
Absolutely.
You
I
can
have no
absolutely
problem.
keep
Exactly.
scrolling and go on
Scroll.
with your day. That's it.
Absolutely. I want to give another quote, and I'm sorry for giving that many, but they're not coming into my mind. I think Howard Stern had a call in one of his shows where he said, "Yeah, Howard, I love your show, but I have an advice for you. I don't care.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. No,
it's just an advice. No, I don't care.
thank you,
I
but
couldn't
no.
care less.
I
Exactly.
love that so much.
Yeah,
Just
absolutely.
shutting it down right away. And I will say this to so many people in my comments. They'll say, "Oh, well, I have a right to come in your comments and say this to you and tell you to change it or to hate on it." And I say, "You do, but I'm not going to listen to you though.
Exactly. Like,
This is
feel
my
free.
outlet. This is my creative space. It's opinion based, right?
You are coming into my home. That means you have to respect my rules.
Thank you. And
It's
that's
so
how I
easy.
view my page, truly. Of like
It's so easy.
this is my sacred space. This is my domain. I obviously prefer positive, uplifting people to be
Absolutely.
there. Of course.
I try, of course, to come with arguments, but if I see we have no arguments, we have no argumented discussion, then we should not have a discussion. Like, it's so
Absolutely.
easy.
I wish more people would embrace this. Oh my goodness. You have to do a master class on like how to behave on the internet.
I realized that the energy that you invest into dealing with this hate is not worth it. It's absolutely not
It's
worth it.
the
And
least worth it of
you are
anything.
every time when I see people commenting saying you are ugly, you are stupid, I just think you just need a hug. You just need someone in your life
And you
that
have
come
to
to you.
know it's projection. They are dealing with
Absolutely.
something within
Absolutely.
them
I
that
I
they
had
feel the audacity to say that.
look, I have someone that left in a video, the same video. Of course, I have longer videos, but still, left in the video, I think 12 comments, and all of them were hate against the guest.
Oh my
And
gosh.
after the fourth or fifth one, I said, I mean, just scroll, just don't watch it
Just
anymore.
why?
Just why?
Why? Why
Why you
even be here?
exactly like yeah, funny story. Yeah, it is how
It's
it
one
is.
of those things I cry to my husband about since I've started the social media journey, and he goes, "You really need to just not let these like haters get to you." But
Yeah, just try
sometimes,
to
like you're saying, when they're just like this, it's like, can you just please just go
just go.
and to be 100% honest, like hand on Bible, I have never written a hate comment in my life, and I cannot understand what would possess them to start typing on their computer something negative about someone you don't know.
I always connect of the fact everything that I do with my expectation after that result. What do I expect if I do a hate comment? To that guy to come and say, yes, you're right. I am stupid. Yes. It's good that you said
It's
I haven't
never
noticed
gonna
until now.
happen. Exactly. I think this will be one of the things that I'll just maybe never get as a content creator of just like the thought process, right? But again, I think it's easy for people to feel some kind of way behind a screen.
Yeah.
I'm not that person. I think again, ego has to play into it as well. And I just don't
Ego and
care. I'm just
ego
here to spread my
and
good
look,
word.
Daniela, there's another thing. It's easier to write someone you are stupid than to tell him in his face. It's really
Both
hard
I
to
can't imagine. Both I
but
cannot. Oh,
but it's
but it's
really
true.
easy to sit behind the keyboard and you
Yeah.
say you are stupid.
Yeah.
But you looking into my face, you are not able to say that because it's a different. It's not
Absolutely.
about afraid or something. It's just about you realize I'm a human, exactly like you, and you're not doing it anymore.
On the other side of it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
We went this rabbit hole. I loved.
There's been
Daniele,
so many rabbit holes.
I love it. Did Sicily taught you to live slow, or you had it in you before you came in there?
I wanted that slow life. And again, this ties back to the little version of me growing up. I always felt like such an outsider in America in general. again, within my own family, within the cultural norms of America. And so from the moment I got the taste of it, I thought, okay, I think I always joke with my husband, I was Italian in another lifetime or something in another lifetime just like made me so enamored with this culture. Something happened. I have just a profoundly deep love, admiration, connection to it. And so I was blinded for a good, I'd say, decade maybe in my career when I was at the top of my career. I had gotten promoted in Disney World to the private resort. Again, I got distracted. I was easily this
Ego
is
was feeded.
ego
Ego
again was
was.
like, "Wow, look at you." And you're doing all these great things, but at the end of the day, it always went back to a slower pace of life, wanting that, needing that, connecting with that. And I admire that about the Sicilian people. This goes again with they don't care about riches or wealth or monetary value. They care about the moments that you live and what you do in those moments. Are they spent with good people, with good food? Do you feel good? And I think that's just such a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. When you realize that so I think I loved it, that saying when you say, okay, that you are, everyone has two lives, and the second one starts when you realize you have only one. And I
Yeah, I
think that's,
love that. Oh, I got goosebumps. I've never heard that before.
that's,
How have
that's,
I never
uh,
heard that?
that's such a good thing. That's such a
Wow.
good thing because that's actually what's important. We only have 80, maybe 90 summers if we're
If
lucky.
we're
And
lucky.
if we're lucky, let's try to enjoy them. Daniele, it was one of the funnest conversations I had in a
Oh, you're
long
sweet.
time.
Thank you.
No, I'm honest. I love it. I have it before we wrap it up. I have my list with rapid fire questions tailored
Okay.
by on the guest. Sorry, um, they are not rapid fire. I call them rapid fire because they are at the end, but they are not necessarily rapid fire. If you
I'm
could
guessing
answer
you can
fast,
imagine from our conversation, nothing about this has been rapid
but I love it
with our rabbit holes.
exactly.
I'll try to
So
be quick.
Palermo or Catania?
Ooh, I have to go Palermo. I gotta go
Perfect.
Palermo. The better food.
Perfect.
The
Makes
better
sense.
food. It's
Catania,
controversial.
Catania has the airport though, so
We also
also
have our airport
you're
though.
right, but it's still that okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I
Palermo. I
know
gotta
it.
go
You're
Palermo.
right. You're right. You're right. You're right.
Oh, I'm not right. It's opinion based. You can love
Correct.
Catania.
No, I don't know it. I've just flying in once, so I'm just. But I fly in Palermo as well, so that's why.
Okay.
Arancina or arancino?
Ooh, arancina. Again, because I live in the province of Palermo and they are feminine here, and because they are in the shape of an orange. And an orange in Italian is arancia, feminine.
I I touched a point.
Ooh, there's gonna be, that's controversy. That right there is controversy. Woo!
Canolo or granita?
Oh no. Oh, not the dessert question.
Yes.
Okay, I gotta go cannolo, but it has to be filled. They call it espressi, which means express, which means they fill the shell for you on the spot when you open it, or when you order it. Because it has to be the crunchy shell separate from the ricotta filling. Oh, and it's gotta be chocolate chips, pistachio crumbs, and a candied cherry.
What are you doing? It's 10 p.m. I'm not allowed to eat now.
I d w we're gonna wrap up and I'm gonna have to snack while having visions of Chipotle.
I'm sorry for that. So,
Oh,
beach day in Sicily or village day in Sicily?
ooh, too vague. Which village? What are we doing in the village? I gotta go beach. I gotta go beach and hope that we're gonna get a granita at the beach so that I get my granita at the end of the day. since I had to choose cannolo.
Italian or Sicilian? Which one is harder?
Oh, Sicilian dialect is a bitch. It's it's crazy. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I basically only know all the bad words in dialect. Only the bad ones. So I have to go Italian because if I was to just converse with you in dialect, it would offend every nonna within a 100-mile radius.
Which was the one thing that you wish you could have brought from US in unlimited quantities?
Ooh, I love this question. Oh, this is so controversial. Oh no. I'm gonna get a lot of hate for this, but flavored coffee creamers.
No.
I know. I know. When I'm telling you, listen, our espresso here, unmatched, right? World renowned, delicious. But when it is August and we're sitting at, sorry, I'm gonna tell you in Fahrenheit because I'm American, but like 110 degrees Fahrenheit, which is I'm sure like in the 40s or 50s
40s,
Celsius.
40s.
Um, I want a cold coffee. I want a flavor in that coffee. Not all the time, but I'd love the option again. Just to have the option. There is zero option. It's just espresso flavor.
But I have to give it to you, Daniele, because I think I've never seen in my life so many flavors of flavored creamer for coffee
Okay,
as
and
I've
I'm
seen
gonna
in
be
the
honest.
US.
I went for my best friend's wedding about 2 years ago, and I had already been, living here for a while. And when I got there, I was shook. There was so many options when I left. Now there's at least double, triple, any flavor, any combination, any crazy thing you could ever want. The Italians are going to hate me for that answer.
Look,
They're going to revoke my residency for that answer alone.
look,
I know
Daniele,
it. Because
I
that's the
have
one thing, it's dairy based, so it won't last in my luggage. And they're liquid, and there's no way to get a year's supply. Oh, it would be, oh yes, hands down. Hands down.
can I most probably someone at your home, most probably your husband will hate me for this, but the hazelnut syrup is available on Amazon.
Oh, okay. So I have to do some Amazon shopping after this. Okay.
So the hazelnut,
It's hard to come by. But if Amazon has it, and yeah, that goes for anything. I said creamers, which, you can get dairy or non-dairy based ones, but I'll take a syrup too. I'll take
Mhm.
anything just for the option
No,
of
but the creamer.
variation.
No, Amazon has the creamer, has the
The
hazelnut creamer.
creamer.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh no, that's okay.
But they only have the small, like the 10 milliliters things,
Of
but
course. I'll take
still
what I can get though. I'll
exactly.
take
So
what I can get.
I'm sorry for this to everyone in Italy, everyone.
But you know
I'm really
what?
sorry.
I have to say, my husband he's the perfect combination of a little bit Americanized, still with his Sicilian roots, and he's just as bad as me. He is a pumpkin spice lover through and through. He loves it. He goes crazy. He loves a flavored coffee as well. So
Okay, you get used to it. I mean, we have to be honest. It's sweet, it's good. Like come on. The reason why I ask you this question, again, I said it's not rapid fire, but the reason why I ask you this question is because I cannot get enough cough syrup from US.
oh, it's I have to the syrup and the pills are very, very good and very, very effective.
I don't know what those
Oh
guys
my
are
gosh.
putting inside
And
them.
painkillers it's called ibuprofen. I
Ibuprofen.
smuggle that
Yes.
by like the 100 count jars.
Yeah.
And all of our Sicilian friends and family ask us for these two. And
Yeah.
fish oil pills, which are
Yeah.
extremely unaffordable here for some reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, but great example. That's a great example.
I think over-the-counter medicines is something which is really good in the US.
They are pretty dang good, honestly.
Again,
Yes.
on the other side, if you think about, there is a drug addiction because of those
Well,
over-the-counter medication.
on the other side of that coin,
But I mean,
for
you can buy the 1,000 pieces bottle of or can
yep.
of ibuprofen from Walmart. So
Oh, it's
how
so
couldn't you be
good.
addicted? Yeah.
I've still got quite a bit left of my stash from the last trip to America. Yep.
Last question. Where is home, Daniele?
Ooh. I think since I've started specifically my social media journey, this question comes up the most in my brain. As I'm showing up online, as I'm making content, as I'm responding to the community, as I'm responding to comments, messages, so on and so forth. That, oh, getting emotional. I've accepted that I'm probably never going to feel at home anywhere. And that's okay because I have chosen now to just be happy wherever I end up. And I truly now know how much I've grown in the 3 years here. I can truly make it anywhere. I wouldn't have said that confidently before in my very cushy, normal, very predictable life in America, but genuinely, truly, home is where I feel happiness, and home is where I feel loved, and home is just where I choose to be okay. I think it's a choice. I really do.
Absolutely, and I think you speak for every expat immigrant, call him whatever you want. But I think you speak exactly the same. Someone said in one of my episodes, I have the feeling that I belong everywhere and nowhere in the same time.
Oh, I just got chills from that. Oh, that's
So
so beautifully said, and it's the truth. It
is it
genuinely
true?
is.
Yeah.
The
Sky
more
is the
I'm
limit.
here, the more I don't feel a connection to America that deeply, but the more I'm like, I'll never fully be Italian or Sicilian here, and I think it's just it's what you make of it. It's surrounding
Absolutely.
yourself with people who love and understand you. My friends who I consider family, they might not be here with me physically, but we're FaceTiming, we're calling, we're making that effort, and for now it's
It's more
enough.
it's more like a feeling than a place. This is
I
what I
think so.
think as
I
well.
really
Yeah.
think so. Yeah.
And yeah. But we try to find it. And at the end, sky is the limit for us. That's what makes it really interesting. Like nothing is holding you down. Like you said, you can make it everywhere. Daniel, was a fantastic conversation. You are a fantastic human being. I
Oh,
thank you again for the time.
likewise. It was beautiful to talk with
It was,
you.
it was beautiful for me as well. Thank you so much for taking the time. And I hope more people are sharing your positivity and your real life content on social media because I think we need these reality checks.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you so much. And honestly, I hope we get to do this again sometimes. And
I'd
most,
love to. I'm like I said, I'm chock full of stories, enough for a book's worth. So,
well, maybe we make one about Disney World because
right?
that could be a dream. I don't know if we're allowed to
The cast
technically.
member behind the scenes.
Yeah, yeah.
There's something there. It was great chatting with you though.
Same for me. Thank you so much. See you at the next one, Daniele.
Bye.
Bye.